Christopher,
Hey,
congratulations.
what
Con-
are we congratulating?
I'm congratulating you on becoming a father.
Ah, thank you very much. Yeah,
You
round
think
two.
you think I forgot, but yeah, I don't forget. People's trades or them having kids. Those are the only two things I remember. So how are things going? You getting any sleep?
This is round two, so we prepared for it a
Uh,
little bit different this time, and yeah,
yeah.
average 7, 8 hours a night
Uh,
with the new guy.
good, good. All right, partner, let's get to what everyone's about in this business, mana, money. Where
Let's
where
do it.
where are the ops that you see in the markets right now? Okay, wow, God,
Guess
you
what?
all right. So how slippery is it? 50s?
The
And
opposite.
oh, the other way?
Yeah,
We're going up.
yeah.
Okay, interesting because I saw people getting real bearish about a contango and still people pretty bearish. Did what Nat Gas did yesterday have anything to do with maybe a shift in WTI?
I, you know, I Natty is the for a couple of years there, it was the funnest thing to trade in the world. I don't think there's any reason to trade that thing unless you really like to get punched in the face often. Um,
Yeah, I got out
it's
and felt smart a while ago, and then I walked in and I see it up 10%. And what do? You
well, it's the
can't
thing.
buy.
It has these days where it just makes you feel like Natty's coming back and we're all going to be trading Natty again. It's going to be the best thing in the world, and then it goes on like a week or a month long tear straight down over and over and over and over and over. And then one day you have a 10% rip and it starts
Yeah.
the cycle over again, it
Well,
seems
you have
like.
a couple kids. You should not trade the Widowmaker anyway. All
My
right.
wife
So,
is getting to the point.
yeah. So let's see what, let's hear the case for
Okay.
alongside the WTI.
Okay. First things first. This was as of yesterday. Basically, it's down $57 a barrel or so last night.
Yeah.
$62 is kind of the price that is priced in for Q4. So what that looks like here is that's about where we were last night. The
Okay.
far left, this bar that we're seeing would be the Israel
Yeah.
Iran war,
Yeah.
and then just kind of sideways after that was done, and just wore it out. Um, so what I want to get into here is this is more of I am going to stack on some geopolitics towards the end of this, but we're going to start out systematically and work our way through um, a low risk, high probability or high potential trade. And that's the slippery slope to the upside that I think everybody's kind of uh beaten up. Um,
It's so cheap in constant dollar terms, and the gold oil ratio, I think, historically has never been like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, geez, gold has been an incredible move. And absolutely, like one of the largest geopolitical products in the world, crude oil, has done nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and not for a lack of news and wildness going on in the world. Um, which we will get into. But I want to start out. This is a systematic trade. This is my basic trade. I came in back in January, and we were shorting
I remember,
crude oil.
and you were
Had a
right.
nice it's a 50+% win rate. So, I'll take it when it works, and when it doesn't, I'll
Yeah.
I'll take the L.
Okay.
It worked.
Yeah.
And that's the same setup we have right now. It's just in the opposite direction. So I'm just going to go over the basic stuff. This was the trade that we talked about back in January. Basically, we were up there, got short, wrote it down from 72 level or so down to 60, I think. It was a nice trended move, but it was a basic mean reversion trade. I wasn't there for the trend. I wasn't attempting to get the trend. It was mean reversion. And across the bottom is this tool I use. It's a market regime indicator, and it's just a representation of price action. Is price action like really excitable, or is it calm? And when you have like this yellow green, that's a very calm, nothing's there to really there's no trend is the best way to say it. This is not a trending market. And so you can kind of get these mean reversion trades pretty easily. Then after that was done, you can see in the left-hand corner, that was the January trade we did. Then in April, May, during the chaos, there was a nice long setup on crude that led into the war in the Middle
Yeah.
East. And I was over there hanging out, but I wasn't. I did not predict the war. I was just, for crude's sake, I was just long crude in that thing. And again, we're seeing that mean reversion setup, and you get to that extreme point, and I had a big drawdown, intraday drawdown towards the end of it, but I definitely got my target trade on it. And so the point on this is crude is the geopolitical asset. When something goes wrong in the world, crude is the thing that expresses it. When we're talking about Israel, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, the COVID situation, global financial crisis, or 2003 Iraq invasion, the big moves happen in crude, and you can see 9/11 kind of kicked it off. Then we had Iraq kick it off, global financial crisis. It's just these big periods that happen, and oftentimes it's after the fact that most of the time it's after the fact that you realize, oh, this is actually the thing. Um, and you can kind of notice that the Israel-Iran thing wasn't that big of a deal, relatively speaking. This is a monthly chart, so compared to going negative in 2020,
Yeah.
it's a blip. Um,
Right.
but
It looks like
where we're at right now,
consolidation.
it
Okay.
does. It after, especially after going negative,
Yeah.
it rips back up to the upside to 100, and then just falls into this like 80 60 80 50 range, and has just done nothing for the next few years. And we are, as you saw in this little preview here, the tripwire is, I believe, this what could start happening here in Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and then following on to the rest of the world. And so I'm going to kind of set up the trade and see how it could be that tripwire, and the
Yeah,
opposite of a
we always
slippery
thought
slope.
that we're used to oil embargoes and oil problems coming out of the Middle East. This would be a different ballgame.
It would be, and I will concede, Venezuelan oil is not the cleanest oil, as I'm told. It takes a little bit more work to process it than than the stuff coming out of the Middle East. But I'm not really.
Are they the biggest
Um,
producer in South America, Venezuela?
I I believe they have the largest oil reserve. I'm not sure if they're the biggest producers. They're doing something about 700,000 barrels a day.
Okay.
Um, in either case, it's huge, and if it comes offline, that's good for like a $10 move or so in
All right.
crude, just in and of itself.
So compare
Um,
that to like Iran. What did they produce uh, on a monthly
um,
basis?
let's find
Or
out.
or even use Saudi, who's not a pariah state. So how
Let's
does
find out what we
this?
can get.
Yeah, yeah,
Iran does
yes,
3.4 million, so we're looking at not even a
twice.
quarter, 1/5. Yeah, a fifth of the size, and that's Iran. So let's Saudi.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
I'm trusting Google to be the
that's
source here.
okay. Just to put it in
um,
perspective.
it's small. Um, yeah, 9 point, almost 10 million. So not even 1/10 the size of Saudi. It's
Okay,
a
yeah.
small amount, relatively speaking, but that one small amount can it can definitely affect about $5 to $10 per barrel and that's about where we're going to start. That's kind of starts the process off. So
Okay.
I have this timeline that I started to put together here. Well, me and my LLM friend put this together. Basically, in the last 3 weeks or so, we started running. We put B-52 bombers and F-35s in the Caribbean. We moved a bunch of ships, U.S. naval assets, an ARG, amphibious ready group. This is my old playground when I was in the military as a Marine. I know what we're capable of in that sort of scenario. It's a rapid reaction type
Force.
force. We come
Yeah.
in and we're think of like all of the assets of the Army, Navy, Air Force combined is the Marine Corps at a smaller element, just 1/10 the size to do all of those sort of things really quickly. That's kind of
Right.
a blitz force.
Okay.
And so that's staged in the Caribbean, and actually probably what I would want to go back is to take a look at, I guess I should have a better map, but this is the first time that there's been like a check on the Panama Canal. So even though all this news is happening in Venezuela, what's transporting through the Panama Canal from Asia, from Europe, has to go through this US military presence. And if you're old enough or a student of history, there was a blockade in the 1960s, 1962, uh, from the United States blockading Russia from bringing nukes into Cuba. So that's kind of a similar sort of posture, but it's not being advertised as that. It's being advertised more of like, we're going into Venezuela. And I'm not saying that it's not both. I'm just saying that the advertisement is Venezuela. The reality is it serves a couple of different
So
things.
we're choking off the Panama Canal except the friendlies.
You know what? You suddenly got a security guard at a nightclub that did not have security before, big
Okay.
crazy biker bar, and there's a bunch of bikers
Yeah.
doing whatever you want, and suddenly now you've got like a bunch of off-duty cops there
Yeah.
hanging out. Suddenly things are
Okay.
going to be a little bit different. So, that happened. They've gone in and they started attacking those fast boats. There's a fabulous YouTube video from a video from Borderlands where it interviews this gentleman. I wish I had the link. I'll get it. Um, and he just talks about, those fast boats. There's no hiding that those fast boats, what they're doing, what they're transporting. And he just explained the financials behind it and everything behind it. And it was like, oh, there's no question that these are hauling drugs to be picked up by bigger ships headed off to Europe, headed off to Africa, headed off to North America. Um,
Okay.
and so, yeah, as we're proceeding in, probably one of the most interesting thing happened yet 2 days ago, where the president POTUS basically said we're no longer sending money to Colombia, um, because Colombia, after we took out a Colombian ship, fast boat, 2 3 days ago. It was a submarine even or submersible. He took that out. Or the U.S. Military took that out and then immediately came out and said, okay, um, we're no longer going to allow that or be paying off Colombia. And so the president of Colombia is, he's a bro to Maduro, Petro. He's a
Yeah.
former narco himself, um, and and so now you're putting not just pressure on Venezuela, but the partners to Venezuela, and so you're hitting Venezuela with all these different levels of government, um, and then shortly after, the Colombian government recalled the ambassador to the United States. That happened, I believe, yesterday or the evening before. Last night, United States issued a travel advisory for Trinidad and Tobago due to potential threats related to conflict with Venezuela. This is interesting, though. and is one of the staging areas for U.S. Southern Command forces preparing for the invasion of Venezuela and Colombia, which was misspelled at the bottom, I'll point out.
Yeah.
Um, Colombia was thrown into this headline.
Yeah.
Uh, that was interesting. So, again, back
Yeah.
to, we're looking Trinidad, Tobago, it's not too far off of Venezuela. Now it's getting, whoops, it's getting hot over here. Um,
Let me ask you this, Chris. It's probably, I guess we could overwhelm the armies of Colombia and Venezuela, but the big players are involved there. China and Iran are involved in Venezuela, aren't they?
Boy, did you read my slide deck already? Yeah, of course they are.
Uh,
Um,
and I mean, they're not just going to stand by since they have economic interests in that region. Is this
yeah,
so? Could this be like a flashpoint for something broader?
that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm
Oh,
getting at. That's exactly what this trade. No, no,
all right.
you're asking the right question. So what I'm doing is I have this basic setup trade, which is what I started out with, which is that we're getting long crude at like 57 or so like that. We're looking for a 62 target. That's just a basic systematic trade setup. So whether anything
Mm,
else happens, great. Now, when you start looking at these are some of the on the screen is or some of the things that I looked at that tripwire of what could actually be something bigger, right? If we're just talking about US, Venezuela, kind of doing what we're currently doing, I would say, a move up into the 60s is probably where we're at. When we start looking at actually doing strikes on Venezuela and potentially taking out infrastructure to like just, bleed the regime dry, um, then we're looking at maybe up to $90 a barrel. When we start dropping troops in there, then we're looking at up to 120 a barrel. And then that gets into the less, the other part of it is China and Russia. Yes, it was mentioned a week or two ago that Russia pulled out of Venezuela. Um, this was the day of or the day after the Gaza Israel
yeah,
peace thing happened. So, and then the next day is when President Trump and President Putin agreed to meet in Hungary. So the timing of all that seems to me like, okay, get your stuff out of Venezuela. We're going in. We're done here with the Middle East sort of stuff. Now, Russia go saber rattle in Europe. We're going to be focused heavily on Latin America.
our
I don't know if that,
hemisphere.
yeah, kind of
Yeah, it's
like
kind of like a Monroe Doctrine being reborn.
exactly. Yeah. And, we look at what's going on in Colombia. There's been a lot of bombings, a lot of narco terrorism against the infrastructure there. Peru, Ecuador, same sort of thing. New government in Peru. There's been multiple bombings going on in Ecuador, a lot going
Yeah,
on down in there, right around with it. Um, then we still have the Straits of Hormuz
yeah.
issue that could kick up. We certainly know that the Houthis are, extremely volatile, and the other choke point in the Middle East. Let's say that like there is that Monroe Doctrine where the United States just decides to force or focus on the Americas. China can do its Taiwan thing that it's been talking about. Russia can do, more maybe escalate in Ukraine or Poland or the North or something like that. Um, it's a if the U.S. is tied up in something down here,
Yeah.
then you know I we
Okay.
looking
It
at
opens up the globe because we have a distraction that we're militarily involved with boots on the ground. Everywhere else we were involved, the Middle East, it was about using our B-1s. In Europe, it was about sending arms, no boots on the ground. So once we have boots on the ground, we're not going to be able to spread it out. And therefore, whatever Xi and Putin want, they get
It's
once we go
and
into Venezuela.
you know what, absolutely. And when you think about the idea that, okay, if it was in the Middle East that the US was involved in for, 20 years, last 20 years or so, that's not as important. Just thinking as somebody who lives in the United States, the stakes are a little bit higher because it's closer to home. I don't mean that in a flippant way to, what's going on in the Middle East or Europe or anything like that. It's just the
Yeah,
US is a little less concerned about repercussions halfway around the world than the repercussions that are right next door, right below us. And so you know, that
you
adds
have
a different
any
level of.
you have
Go
any
ahead.
timeline? You think all these things happen in the next 6 months if they're going to happen?
I think it happens pretty quick. Yeah, actually,
Well, you
I'm
okay?
thinking.
So how far? You said you were overseas. You were in the Middle East. Did you get some of this perspective being over there as a contractor, talking to people?
Well, it was extremely focused on what was going on over there. My time in
Okay,
the Middle
all
East,
right, okay.
not so much what was going on.
Don't go back there anymore, man. I would miss having you as a guest. Don't go back there. Make money in the markets where, if you're wrong, you don't get shot. You just lose a little bit of money. The cakewalk, right? So
It's yeah, yeah.
anyway, all
Well,
right.
here's
Go
the
ahead.
here's that trade laid out, and this is a weekly chart of the crude oil front month. Right now, we're looking at December. Um, the trade I'm looking at doing is this little blip down here. I don't know if you can even see it on your screen. It's so
I
small.
see it.
We go in,
Yeah,
things start happening in Venezuela. Um, then we start looking at a move up into where, the Iran Israel war happened.
yeah,
We take out infrastructure in Venezuela, 700,000 barrels come offline. Now we're
yeah,
looking in the 80s. And then a ground war starts happening. Like we send troops in and we start occupying, and we, maybe an Iraq 2003 type of
yeah. You,
scenario. Now we're
yeah,
looking at
you,
100.
yeah. Then we have to fight an insurgency in Venezuela.
Yeah, we already know that's the case going into it. I mean, we
Okay,
have our experience in Iraq, first of all,
all right.
but we know a lot of the players. I mean, I lived in South America for like 10 years, right in this region. So I'm well aware of personally of what it looks like, who the players are, what they are like, and just across the board. So it's a different type of, if we look at it and say, oh, not another Iraq, it's just a different game. Not that it can't end up being the same as Iraq, and I'm not
Yeah,
apologizing or justifying it anyway. I'm just saying it's a different animal here.
okay.
Um, so let me go to my chart here. Here's all my socials. Let me go to my chart and focus on the actual crude trade.
What an interesting presentation, Chris, that you brought here today. So, okay. Um, did you want to wrap it with something on this chart?
Well, just one thing I wanted to whoops, this is
I think we could get one more drive to a bottom, Chris, now that you're showing it. Your first chart had two drives. The first one you put up with it. No, that wasn't it. The one before that, I think. Yeah.
so that was an hourly.
Oh,
This
and
is that
there.
one. Yeah.
What's that, a daily?
This is an hourly chart of crude
Oh,
today.
okay.
And we had the roll, right? So let's do
Yeah,
a back adjust here. So now we're looking at December. This morning there was a fire in Hungary. Hungary provides 80% of the crude to the Ural region of Russia.
Yeah,
That kicked up this thing this morning,
I
this
see.
56 to 57. Not really a
Yeah.
huge deal, but you're certainly right, and you can see it reversing. You
I
can
I
see it.
also I also heard the commitment of traders report when we were still getting them, had huge dollar short positions, record shorts. But the public was still a little bit too long, so it needed one more break, which is what we had. So I think the COT set up that there's lots of fuel for short covering in WTI because of record
I'm
shorts.
I absolutely agree with that. What let me This area, which I don't have COT on this to, and
Yeah,
I don't know where we don't have that.
yeah,
But this is a weekly chart of crude going into the the zero thing.
yeah,
Um, if I'll go ahead and put my volume profile on it. For those that understand volume profile, this you can see what I highlighted here. Volume profile just represents the amount of volume traded on a
yeah,
uh, at a price level on a horizontal plane. So you can see when the contract trades at 56, $57, what we can see is back in the
buyers came in.
and there was buyers came in, and also this area was a low volume node. So it also happened to be a low volume node in 2020, 2021, and this is back to where we are right now. So we've
Yeah,
revisited that area, which was a launch pad, like a just a gap down on the zero or the negative oil prices, and then we get in back into 2021. It's hard to see this. I apologize, but we have another launch pad and we skip that whole level and just send it up to 130 into the
yeah,
US or to the Ukraine Russia war.
right.
And we don't see it again until just recently. And that would have been, just this summer here. We get back to that same level that kicked
Yeah,
off, and we found support back down into this area.
yeah,
And we're starting to fill that volume up just a little bit. Commitment of traders is what we want, exactly what you're talking about, is we don't want this like obvious trend where everybody's already positioned, because as we already know, when everybody's positioned, gold's going through it right now, right? Everybody's already positioned super long. Finally, towards the end of the gold move, that's when the move
yeah.
has the most firepower.
You want a gap like you saw yesterday, put up the daily and nat gas. And that's how you catch the shorts or
Yep,
people that
like
want it
that.
to be long. Yeah, in a day.
Yeah, this is a daily natty, and
Yeah,
it's just it new low. It was that I think that's a new all-time low
yeah,
on natty, or well, not all time, but for the
yeah.
last 150 or 70 years,
For a
since
while, yeah,
1970, 50 years or so. Yeah, and so you get this big thing, and so where a stop's going to be placed. Stops as a trader, you're just going to use, okay, well, if it gets above this level, stops are going to be in place because it's breaking the trend. It's a higher high, right? So
yeah,
it's just a natural place for people who've been positioned to put stops. If you're
yeah,
initiating a position down in here on the short side, your stops aren't that wide. They're going to be way
yeah,
down here. But if you're a long-term player, and that's who you want to, that's what kicks off a really big move, is taking long-term position traders out of a trade, right?
yeah,
They they shorted at 6 and it's down to 3. They're whatever, so I lose
yeah.
50 cents on a $3 natty short. I make $20 million on the short. I give back $500,000. Great, no big deal, on to the next one.
Okay,
Those traders coming out, getting those are the people that get stopped out, and those participants are the ones that cause the big moves,
okay. All right. Well, uh,
as
people
you know.
that want to, you know, have you guide them through this energy trade, best way for them to get a hold of you and those that want to say thank you for your previous trades that perhaps they participated in. Best way for them to do so, Chris.
Yeah, thanks. Here's all my places. You can find me on X. I do most of my snarkiness there. LinkedIn, same thing. Pollinatetrading.com is my website. I write and do videos with macro-ops. There's my YouTube. I'll be putting together a video on this crude oil trade here as well, like further in depth. This is, the beginning of it or whatever. Again,
Good.
timeline on this crude trade, I think is well, on Venezuela, I should say. I think Venezuela is going to happen before the end of the year.
Okay. I think
So
Iran, Israel 2.0 will as well.
I die if if Venezuela happens, I think everything else is
Yeah.
probably going to happen as well. So it could
Yeah.
be more of a World War II scenario
Yeah.
than just another Iraq
Yeah.
2.0 type scenario.
And Chris has some experience with geopolitics, being in the crossfire of them. So support Chris. And he told me his baby needs shoes. I'm kidding. Uh, but sign up, and Chris's, his hit rates. I think it's better than the 50% on oil. You've been real spot on. So thanks for presenting us with this, because I'm sure a lot of us are looking at Venezuela and saying, what could possibly go wrong, right? With blowing up boats and attacking a small country like that.
Yeah,
Anyway, we know what could go wrong. It's who their allies are. So
absolutely.
thank you, Chris. And again, congratulations on your second long-term trade of being a father. Okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate you for that.
All right. Chris Stover, everybody. Find him on X at Chris D Macro and trade the crew trade with him. I think that'll guide you well. And that's a wrap, everyone. Don't just count your barrels, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Good hunting. You're welcome, everyone. Adios. Thanks again, Chris.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.